What's up, support forums? I was gonna make a video coding this kind of as I went along explaining it, but it would take too damn long. I tried it. I was up to like 10 minutes. I wouldn't even know it's the server. So I'll go through this line by line and hopefully you understand. Here's our imports. If you don't know what imports do, send me a PM or something. That's something you should probably definitely know. Server is going to be our socket that we're listening on to receive the client. Once we have the client, we're going to set the client socket to the actual client so we can send and receive data from it. Server, on the form load, we're going to set the server to new socket. Address family, socket type, protocol type, that's all pretty standard. Anything you do, you're probably going to have that, unless you're advanced, and you probably wouldn't be watching this anyways. So I'm not going to go through all that. Endpoint, pretty much all this is doing is telling it to listen on pretty much any IP that requests access to the server. Again, I'm not going to harp on that. Server.bind, we're binding that endpoint, which is any IP, to our server. It is needed. If you don't have that, it'll throw an exception. But it's pretty basic, it's pretty standard. Server.listen is pretty much telling it to listen. This backlog is pretty much saying how many connections you can have in your queue, I guess, waiting to connect. We're only going to be dealing with one, so it's not that big of a deal. So don't actually worry about that. You could set that to 2, 10, whatever. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is server.begin accept, which is starting a new thread, which is actually pretty cool about this socket class. That does all the threading for you when you do async callbacks and all that. It actually makes it a lot easier than trying to figure out threading and stream reader, stream writer, all that stuff. But the address of on accept, so our thread is going to be listening on this sub is pretty much going to be our new thread. So once we start listening or begin accepting it, once we have a client that tries connecting, we're going to set our client socket to the new client, and it's going to send it as an async result. So that's actually our client, even though it's not or that's actually our socket. It's not actually the. Just know that AR is a socket. I could have done change type, but it doesn't matter in this. Begin receive. Once we have our client, we're going to start receiving pretty much data, and data is sent over sockets via bytes, which is why we have these bytes up here. So once we do receive data, we're going to store it in our byte array. There's no offset. The length or the size of the byte array, the size of the data is going to be the length of our byte. That's as much data as we can send. So anything over meg we won't be able. Don't worry about socket flags. It's more advanced stuff that you won't need to get into right now. And then so once we do receive data, we're going to start a new thread to handle that, and it's going to be on receive. And we're going to send the client, which is our client socket. This line probably isn't needed. I threw it in there anyways. But client, we're going to end the receive, tell it to stop receiving, start receiving more data, and then handle the data that we do have. Once it's done here, this thread is actually going to be done. Null. It won't actually exist anymore, so don't worry about your CPU usage. Until you receive another message, there won't be another thread. The message that gets sent is going to be we're going to turn it into a string, and we're going to get the string from the encoded bytes, which is how they were encoded in the client, or they're going to be. And we're just going to do a simple message box. So when you click connect over here, what we're doing, we got our client socket, our host that we're connecting to, our port. Once you hit connect, we're going to make a new socket, pretty much the same as the other one, except for instead of listening, we're going to connect, which is right here. IP is, we're going to have to parse it out of the host. You can't send it a string. Don't ask me why Microsoft did this, but they did. So on connect, we're going to need our endpoint. which our endpoint is not going to be any this time because we're not listening. We're actually telling it which IP to look at, which is us, our server. New thread called onConnect. We'll go look at it. OnConnect is telling us once we are connected, and quit trying to connect. Show the client, not the server, a message box saying connected. Once we click send right here, our bytes being sent, we're going to encode the bytes using, this time I did the imports, import system text ACCI encoding. We're going to get the bytes from the string, which is the opposite of getting the string from the bytes that we did in the last one. Begin send, the bytes that we're sending, the offset, most cases will be 0. The length of the bytes, which is going to be how much data we're sending. There's no flags, and it's going to do it on a whole new thread called onSend. Pretty much the only reason we need this is to tell it to quit sending. Once it does that, this thread's gone, and we're gravy. So let's trace it through. You hit connect, connects via the IP that we set up here. Tells you message box saying that you're connected. You hit send. It converts the data to a byte, sends it across the socket. After it sends it, you end the send, picks it up over here where we're listening. After the client was accepted, we started listening. Once it actually receives data, after you hit send, it'll start receiving data. Tell it to end receive, start receiving more data, and then dim message as get string from the bytes that were sent. Message box show message, and we're gravy. So this probably went a little bit longer than I wanted it to. Here's our server. Don't have anything on it. Let's connect. We're connected. Send a message, and this is sending the message via the server. So that's it. It's a quick down and dirty. I'll post everything on there. Thanks for watching. Quince just wanted me to tell you guys that I'm way sexier than he is. Don't ask me why. Send him a PM and ask him.